I eased the rental car into the driveway of our modest bungalow in Toronto's East End, bone-tired after a red-eye from Vancouver. My mother's stroke had kept me at her bedside for 13 sleepless nights, but she was finally stable. All I could think about was Margaret, my wife of 41 years, whose early-onset Alzheimer's had begun stealing her memories 2 years earlier. 2 weeks apart felt like a lifetime when every day erased a little more of the woman I loved. The house was pitch black. Odd. Margaret always left the porch light on for me, a habit born from decades of waiting up. It was barely 7:45 p.m. I hauled my suitcase from the trunk, the wheels rattling against the cracked pavement. Then I heard it, a muffled thump-thump-thump from inside, like someone pounding weakly on wood. My pulse spiked. Keys slipped in my sweaty fingers as I jammed them into the lock. The front hall smelled stale. The thumping grew clearer, accompanied by a hoarse, desperate cry. "Help, please." It was coming from the basement. I dropped my bag and sprinted to the basement door. A shiny new padlock gleamed on the hasp, one I'd never seen before. "Margaret!" I shouted. A faint sob answered. I tore into the garage, snatched a tire iron, and attacked the lock. Metal screeched. The padlock snapped. The door flew open, releasing a wave of sour stench. Urine, sweat, despair. I flicked the light. Nothing happened. The bulb was gone. I stumbled down the stairs, heart hammering. She was curled at the bottom, a frail shadow in a soiled nightgown. Margaret's once soft cheeks were hollow, her lips cracked and bleeding. She blinked up at me, eyes clouded with terror and confusion. "Tom." Her voice was a rasp. "Is it really you?" I scooped her up. She weighed less than our granddaughter's backpack, and carried her upstairs. Her skin was ice cold despite the late summer warmth. I laid her on the couch, grabbed my phone, and dialed 911 with shaking hands. While the dispatcher took our address, I scanned the living room. The coffee table was shoved aside. Unfamiliar moving boxes teetered in the corner. Margaret's weekly pill dispenser, always on the counter, was missing. Paramedics arrived in 7 minutes. "Severe dehydration, early hypothermia, malnutrition," one muttered. "Sir, when did you last see your wife?" 13 days ago," I choked. "I left her with our daughter, Sarah. She promised to stay." The paramedic's eyes flicked to his partner. They loaded Margaret onto the stretcher. I climbed into the ambulance, clutching her bony fingers. "I'm here, love. I'm so sorry." At St. Michael's, nurses whisked her away. A detective from the Elder Abuse Unit, Sergeant Patel, arrived within the hour. I spilled everything. My Vancouver trip, Sarah's assurances, the unanswered calls in week 2. Patel's pen never stopped moving. "Mr. Chun," he said, "did you grant your daughter power of attorney?" No, my stomach lurched. "Why?" "We'll need to investigate," he replied grimly. "This looks premeditated." Margaret drifted in and out, murmuring. Sarah was making soup. Where'd she go? Each word was a knife. I kissed her forehead and promised answers. But first, I needed to go home and search for the truth buried in our own walls. What I found in Sarah's abandoned laptop would shatter every illusion I had about the daughter I raised, and reveal a betrayal colder than the basement where my wife nearly died. The next morning, while Margaret slept under hospital sedation, I returned to the house. The silence felt accusatory. I brewed coffee I didn't drink and opened Sarah's MacBook on the kitchen island. The password auto-filled, our wedding date, ironically. Folders labeled Mom Care, Taxes, Portugal. My cursor hovered. I clicked Portugal first. Flight confirmations, Toronto to Lisbon, one way, dated 3 days after my original return. A rental agreement for a seaside flat in Cascais, 6 months, paid in full. I opened Mom Care. Scanned documents. A power of attorney bearing Margaret's shaky signature, dated 5 days after I left. A notary stamp from a strip mall office in Scarborough. Bank logs showed $80,000 drained from our joint savings. Money earmarked for Margaret's future care. Another $120,000 pulled via a new HELOC on our mortgage-free home. Total, $200,000. The recipient? Oak Ridge Ventures Limited. A quick search revealed it was incorporated 4 months ago. Director, Ryan Morrison, Sarah's husband. His LinkedIn boasted blockchain wealth strategist. Translation, crypto grifter. Texts between Sarah and Ryan lit the screen like arson. Sarah, day for she keeps asking for dad. Won't stop crying. Ryan, she'll forget by tomorrow. Dementia's our ally. Sarah, what if neighbors here? Ryan, no one visits anymore. We're golden. Day 6. Ryan, basement's perfect. No windows, no Wi-Fi. She can't call. Sarah, bucket's gross, but necessary. My vision blurred with rage. They debated drugging her, decided starvation was cleaner. I photographed every file, emailed copies to Sergeant Patel, then drove to the station. Patel's team raided Sarah and Ryan's Liberty Village condo that afternoon. The couple had vanished, but evidence hadn't. Shredded bank statements, a burner phone with texts coordinating wire transfers to a Cayman account, and, sloppiest of all, a printed itinerary tucked in a cereal box. Patel laid photos on the interview table. They planned to stage a welfare check after you delayed your return. Claim Margaret wandered off. Collect life insurance, sell the house, disappear. I stared at my daughter's selfie with Ryan on a Lisbon beach time-stamped yesterday. How long had they been planning? Months, Patel said. Your mother's stroke was the trigger, not the cause. Back at the hospital, Margaret's eyes fluttered open. Tommy, where's Sarah? She promised pancakes. I swallowed bile. She's away, love. That night, I sat in the vinyl chair beside her bed, clutching printouts of the POA forgery. Sarah had rehearsed Margaret's signature using old birthday cards. My wife had trusted her enough to sign anything. Sergeant Patel called at 2 a.m. Border Services flagged them at Pearson. Trying to board a flight to London, first leg to Portugal. They're in custody. I should have felt relief. Instead, hollowness spread. The little girl who once begged for bedtime stories had calculated her mother's death for cryptocurrency. But the arrest was only the beginning. What Ryan confessed in interrogation would prove Sarah wasn't his victim. She was the architect, and the basement was just one piece of a longer, crueler game. Sarah and Ryan were held without bail, flight risk, destruction of evidence. I attended the hearing incognito, baseball cap low. Sarah's orange jumpsuit swallowed her frame. She scanned the gallery, eyes pleading when they met mine. I turned away. Crown Prosecutor Elena Vasquez met me afterward. Ryan's lawyer wants a deal. Full cooperation for a reduced sentence. He'll testify Sarah masterminded everything. Will he do time? Minimum 6 years. Sarah faces 12 to 15 if convicted. I nodded. Take it. Ryan's plea hearing was clinical. He read a scripted apology, voice flat. The judge sentenced him to 8 years at Millhaven. Sarah's trial loomed in spring. I hired civil litigator Marcus Lee to sue for damages. $200,000 stolen. $250,000 for pain and suffering. We froze any future assets. Sarah's CPA designation was suspended after I filed ethics complaints. Her firm fired her. Winter passed in hospital vigils. Margaret's confusion deepened. Stress had accelerated her decline. She stopped asking for Sarah, which hurt worse. Trial prep consumed me. Vasquez built a timeline. Sarah researching dementia POA loopholes 6 weeks before my mother's stroke. Text showing her scouting non-extradition countries. A voice memo. Sarah practicing how to mimic Margaret's voice for bank calls. The basement video devastated the jury. Scratches on the inside of the door spelled Sarah help in shaky nail marks. Margaret testified via video link, voice trembling. She said it was a game, hide and seek till daddy came home. Ryan took the stand, pointing at Sarah. She said, Mom's a liability. Dad's insurance will cover care. We just need seed money for the fund. He detailed fake investor decks Sarah designed using her accounting templates. Sarah's defense claimed coercion. Vasquez shredded her. You texted. Confusion helps. Explain. Sarah sobbed, speechless. Verdict. Guilty, all counts. Sentencing. 12 years, Grand Valley Institution. Civil judgment. For $150,000 lien. Collection. A pipe dream. Our helic payments began. $1, $200 monthly we couldn't afford. Margaret's care costs tripled. I sold my vintage Mustang to cover gaps. Justice served, but the war wasn't over. One final betrayal waited in a safety deposit box. Sarah's insurance policy on Margaret's life, taken out the week I left for Vancouver. Marcus Lee found it during asset discovery. A $500,000 life insurance policy on Margaret, beneficiary Sarah, issued secretly using the forged POA. Premiums paid with our stolen savings. If Margaret had died in the basement, Sarah would have collected $500,000 tax-free after staging a tragic accident. We amended the civil suit. The insurer voided the policy, but the intent was damning. Vasquez reopened charges, attempted murder for gain. Sarah's parole eligibility stretched to 10 years. Margaret forgot my name for the first time in March. Who are you? She asked, fear in her eyes. An hour later, Margaret She smiled. Tommy, you're late for dinner. I sold the house. Too many ghosts. We moved to a one-bedroom near the lake. Caregiver funded by equity. Sarah wrote from prison. I returned the letter unopened. Some wounds scar over. Others fester. The final twist came the day Margaret remembered everything. For one heartbreaking hour. The new apartment smelled of fresh paint and lake air, but Margaret still wandered the hallway calling for Sarah at 3 a.m. Her caregiver, Amara, learned to redirect her with photo albums. Our wedding, Sarah's graduation, the three of us at Niagara Falls. The pictures bought minutes of calm. One October afternoon, sunlight slanted through the blinds. Margaret sat at the kitchen table, tracing the rim of a teacup. I was paying bills, Helic, meds, Amara's salary, when she spoke, voice suddenly clear. Tommy, why did Sarah lock me in the dark? I froze. In 2 years, she'd never strung those words together. Alzheimer's had erased the basement, the betrayal, the trial. Doctors called it terminal lucidity, a cruel flare before the final fade. I set the pen down. You remember? Everything. Her eyes, sharp, accusatory, locked on mine. She told me it was hide and seek. Said you'd find me when you got home. Then the light went out. I screamed until my throat bled. She never came back. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I reached for her hand. She pulled away. She took my wedding ring, Tommy. Said it was for safekeeping. I believed her. I hadn't noticed the bare finger. Sarah must have pawned it. Margaret stood, unsteady but determined, and walked to the balcony. I remember the bucket. The cold. Counting heartbeats to stay sane. 1, 2, 3. She turned. How could my baby do that? I had no answer. The lucid hour stretched. She recalled Ryan's smirk, the notary's board stamp, Sarah practicing her signature on grocery lists. She remembered signing the POA because Sarah promised it would protect Daddy's pension. Then the first twist. There's a safe in the old house. Behind the water heater. Sarah showed me once, said it was for emergencies. She put papers in it the day before you left. We'd sold the house. The new owners, a young couple, had closed 3 weeks ago. I called Marcus Lee. He secured an emergency court order for access. That night, Amara stayed late. Margaret slept fitfully, murmuring numbers. I drove to Leslieville with a flashlight and the key the buyers overnight. The basement smelled of bleach. Someone had scrubbed away the horror. Behind the water heater, a rusted strongbox. Combination, Sarah's childhood phone number. Inside, a flash drive, a burner phone, and a manila envelope. The drive held audio files. Margaret's voice, drugged and slurring, recorded without consent. Sarah's voice coaching. Say you want Sarah to handle everything, Mom. It's for Dad. Legal blackmail if Margaret ever spoke out. The burner's call log. Dozens of outgoing to a Portuguese number. Texts in Portuguese. Translation app revealed meetings with a facilitator for new identities. But the envelope held the real bomb. A second life insurance policy, $750,000. Beneficiary a Cayman trust. Effective date, the day Margaret was locked in. Premiums paid quarterly, from an account I didn't recognize. Marcus ran the account. It traced to Oak Ridge Ventures' Employee Retention Fund. Sarah had siphoned another $38,000 post-arrest, using jailhouse calls to a crooked paralegal. She'd planned a second escape. If Ryan flipped, she'd vanish with the insurance payout upon Margaret's natural death. I forwarded everything to Vasquez. New charges, insurance fraud, conspiracy after the fact. Sarah's sentence extended 2 years, the paralegal arrested. Back home, Margaret's lucidity faded by dawn. She woke asking for oatmeal, and that nice girl who reads to me, Amara. The flash drive became evidence, the policies voided. Yet one final secret waited in the strongbox, a handwritten letter from Sarah, dated the night before her arrest, addressed to Margaret. I debated burning it. Instead, I opened it, and discovered my daughter had left us one last betrayal, time to detonate from beyond the prison walls. Sarah's handwriting, once loopy and proud, had turned cramped on prison stationery. Mom, if you're reading this, Dad found the box. I'm sorry. Not for the money, for the basement. I panicked. Ryan said you'd die quietly. That dementia would erase the memory. I believed him because I wanted to. There's $50,000 in a Bitcoin wallet. Seed phrase on the back. Use it for your care. Tell Dad it's from Grandma's estate. He'll never know. I loved you. I just loved the life I thought money would buy more. The seed phrase unlocked the wallet. Exactly $50,000. But the transaction history showed dozens of smaller transfers to the wallet from elderly Oak Ridge investors. Sarah had skimmed apology funds to look remorseful. Vasquez seized the crypto. Victim split it. Margaret got $11,000. Barely a month of care. I visited Sarah once, against every instinct. Grand Valley's visiting room smelled of bleach and despair. She looked smaller, eyes red. You left her a confession? I asked. I thought it would ease her suffering. You eased your own. She slid a second envelope across the table. For when she forgets me completely. Play it on her birthday. A USB stick. I took it home. Margaret's 64th birthday. Cake. Amara me. I plugged in the drive. Sarah's voice, recorded in prison, filled the room. Mom, it's Sarah. I used to braid your hair while you read romance novels. Remember the summer we caught fireflies? I'm sorry I let the dark win. Happy birthday. Margaret smiled, confused but soothed. That's my girl, she whispered. I kept the recording on repeat. Some lies become mercy. Years passed. Margaret moved to memory care. I sold the apartment. Sarah's parole hearing loomed in 2033. I won't attend. The helic is paid off. Crowdfunding from strangers moved by our story covered the last $42,000. Margaret's ring was recovered from a pawn shop. I wear it on a chain. One morning, the facility called. Margaret had lucid moments again. Rare, fleeting. She asked for Sarah. I played the recording. She cried, then smiled. Tell her I forgive her. I won't. Forgiveness isn't mine to give. But I visit every Sunday, holding the hand that once signed away her future. Some betrayals carve canyons. Others leave seeds. Bitcoin, apologies, fireflies. We plant what we can. On the day Sarah walks free, a final package will arrive at Grand Valley, postmarked from a Lisbon return address. Inside, Margaret's wedding ring and a single line in my handwriting. She forgave you. I never will. Justice, like memory, is a long game. 2033 arrived with a Toronto heatwave. Margaret had been gone 2 years, peacefully, in her sleep, clutching the photo of us at Niagara Falls. I kept her ashes in a small cedar box on the mantle of my one-bedroom in the Junction, next to the pawn ticket stub for her wedding ring. The crowdfunding money had paid the final care bills. I lived on pension and memories. Sarah's parole hearing was scheduled for August 17th. I received the notice, but didn't RSVP. Grand Valley sent a courtesy email. Inmate requests family presence. I deleted it. On August 16th, a courier knocked. No return address, only a Lisbon postmark. Inside, a velvet pouch and a single sheet of heavy cream paper. The pouch held Margaret's ring, cleaned, resized, the inscription Forever T&M gleaming. The paper was my own stationery, stolen from the old house years ago. My handwriting, but not my words until now. She forgave you. I never will. I'd mailed it 6 months earlier, time to arrive the day before release. A final twist of the knife I'd carried for 12 years. Sarah opened the package in the prison mailroom under fluorescent lights. The guard later told Marcus Lee, now retired, still checking in, that she'd stared at the ring for a full minute, then slipped it on her own finger before the parole board. The hearing lasted 40 minutes. Sarah, gray-streaked and gaunt, spoke of therapy, victim restitution. She'd earned $1.12 an hour folding laundry and rebuilding bridges. The board asked about the ring. It was my mother's, she said. She wanted me to have it. They granted parole. Conditions: no contact with me, monthly check-ins, restitution payments of $25 whenever possible. She moved into a halfway house in Hamilton. I learned this from a journalist requesting an interview. Daughter of infamous elder abuse case speaks. I declined. 3 months later, a plain envelope slid under my door. No stamp. Inside, a cashier's check for $11,000, exact amount Margaret received from the Bitcoin seizure, and a Polaroid. Sarah, thinner, standing outside a modest bungalow. On the porch, a cedar box identical to mine. Back of the photo, her new cramped script, Dad. I bought the urn with my first honest paycheck. I visit her every Sunday. The ring stays on my right hand. Reminder, not claim. I understand if you never forgive. But she did. That's enough. I drove to Mount Pleasant Cemetery unannounced. Sarah knelt at the plot, arranging grocery store daisies. She didn't hear me approach. I debated burning this, I said, holding the check. She stood slowly. Keep it. Or donate it. It's clean. We stared across the grass. 12 years of silence crackled between us. She asked for you at the end. I lied. Margaret had died without a name for anyone. But some lies are mercy. Sarah's eyes filled. Tell her I'm trying. She knows. I left the check on the grave and walked away. The ring glinted on Sarah's hand as she knelt again. Mother's forgiveness, father's verdict, both weighing the same gold. That night, I scattered Margaret's ashes in Lake Ontario at sunset, as she'd requested. The ring, her ring, stayed in the cedar box. Some circles can't be closed, only carried. Years from now, when Sarah's restitution payments finally total $175,000, the bank will return the last Helix statement marked paid in full. On the memo line, in faded ink, from S, with Mom's love. I'll frame it next to the empty velvet pouch. Proof that even broken trust can be repaid, one honest dollar at a time. Justice isn't the sentence. It's the long walk after.